And back again here, live in the studios, and going to be introducing to you now our next session, which is actually going to be Jehan, once again, the founder of the Nest IO, and as well as the force behind the entire concept of 0 to 1 Disrupt. And she's going to be joined by Mudassir Sheikha, who's the CEO and co-founder of Careem, which has, quite frankly, changed our lives. His career in the tech industry began at the Silicon Valley, after which he worked with seed stage companies in the software and consumer internet industry. And in 2012, along with ex-colleague Magnus Olsson, Mudassir and his team created Careem. And today, Careem is the leading ride-hailing app in the Middle East and North Africa, Turkey, Pakistan, and is the region's only tech unicorn, operating in more than 120 cities across 14 countries with more than 3,000 employees and 800,000 captains. And they are creating between 60,000 and 70,000 jobs per month. It's absolutely remarkable. His topic that is going to be in discussion is going to be going remote first. I'm going to ask Jehan to join us right after this.
Hi, Mudassir, are you there?
Assalamu alaikum, Jahara. I'm here.
Alaikum salam. How are you?
I'm doing great, alhamdulillah. And yourself?
I'm fine, thank you. Welcome back to 0 to 1 Disrupt, this time 2020.
I know. And nice to see everyone. And I've heard the virtual format is going incredibly well. So congratulations and well done.
Thank you very much. So Mudassir, today we're going to talk about, your new strategy of remote first. So remote first is a word being bandied around. How would you define it? What does remote first mean to you?
Yeah, it's a good question. The word has as many definitions as there might be companies on the planet. But I think let's start. Let's take one step back, if you allow me, and let's put this in context. So look at the very highest levels. We have a certain potential in our region and the people of our region, and what we produce is a function of how we realize that potential. So are we able to realize the talent of all of our people? Are we able to give them the right environment and the right direction to work and be productive? So the way that we work is incredibly important. It's the thing that defines how much progress we make, how much impact we create. And remote first is, you have the conference is called 0 to 1 Disrupt. Remote first is disrupting the way that we work. And if we can find the right disruption that unleashes a lot of value, then I believe that this can actually make a significant impact in what we can realize with the talent that we have already in our countries. So, what we believe is the true sort of potential of remote first. We have relatively inadequate infrastructure in most of our cities. And people are struggling to get to work. People are struggling to find the right transport, even with Careem and Uber in the market. And we have a lot of talent that is not able to show up to work because of commitments they have at home, especially women and and people that have commitments that keep them at home. So we believe that remote first can help us unleash that talent. Remote first can help us become more productive with the talent that's available. And in the way that we have defined it, going back to your original question, is we believe that remote first should be, it's a permanent change. The default is remote. So people should be allowed to work remotely unless there is a very, very good reason for people to show up to work. We also believe that all the processes at Careem need to support remote. So whether it is onboarding, offboarding, HR, people, finance processes, they all need to support remote working. We also believe that there needs to be some office space that should still be kept. So we are keeping all our offices open. In fact, we're basically telling people that after COVID is behind us, expect that we will have to come to the office one day a week so that we can keep the relationships going. And we are putting some guardrails on how much time people can spend outside of their countries of residence, so that there is some method to the madness on where people can be working for Careem. So we have put some parameters in place, which we believe are ones as a starting point will help us get remote first right. But frankly, this is the start of our journey. We will learn, evolve, and get this right over time.
So, Mudassir, does that mean that Careem employees can work from anywhere in the world?
Yeah, pretty much. So if you're hired, let's say in Pakistan, you can work from anywhere in Pakistan. You don't have to be locked to a city or an office. There is an expectation that you will come to the office once a week. So you should be within some reasonable distance of a Careem office, but you can work from anywhere. And you can also work from anywhere in the world for 60 days a year. So you can be in Europe or Dubai working for Careem as long as that is within the 60-day boundary that we have defined for remote work, for being out of the country of hire.
Countries is Careem in, so that we know where people can go.
Sorry, Jana, I missed out the last thing you said.
I said, how many countries is Careem in, so that we know where the offices are, and so people can travel to those offices and still be within, within the transportation range where they can go into an office once a week.
So we have a physical office in 36 cities in 14 countries.
Okay, so that's pretty good. So tell me, there was a question and people wanted to know that did Careem do this as a cost-cutting measure, or was there another reason behind it? Because, the problems with working from home have existed for a long time. So why now?
Yeah, it's a great question. So look, there is some modest real estate savings, but in the grand scheme of things, it's actually quite small. And that cannot be the reason to make such a big bet on remote first, because we have put the whole company's future at stake. Because if people are not going to be productive and we're not going to be able to listen to customers and build the right products, there is no point in trying to save a few dollars. So that's absolutely not the reason we are doing this. The reason we are doing this is, as I mentioned, it allows us to attract the most awesome talent, regardless of where they might be in the countries in which we operate or where they might be in the world. It allows us to offer that talent a very compelling value proposition that centers around trust, that centers around flexibility, that centers around ownership. And what the permanent, it's important that we're calling it permanent, because what is happening is, yes, you may be living in a house or in a space that may not be best suited for remote first, but we're basically telling people that, look, there is no coming back to the office. This is permanent. So start adjusting your lifestyle, start adjusting your living spaces so that you can make remote first work. So for example, I'll tell you what's happening in Dubai, and it's happening in many other parts of the footprint. People that were living, let's say in Dubai Marina in a small apartment, and they were slightly in a tighter living space, are basically saying, why do I need to live in Dubai Marina close to the office? I can be living much further away. I can get a lot more space. I can get my home office. I can get the right internet connection, and then I can be productive. So all of these adjustments are happening as a result of us declaring it permanent. And at some point in the next 6 to 12, 24 months, everyone will sort of have made these adjustments. They will have gotten out of their leases, found the right spaces, made the adjustments happen. And then we believe that this is going to be a force from a productivity, from a value proposition for talent, from an ability to attract awesome talent anywhere in the world, that will actually help us run much, much faster and develop many more products and services in the best way possible than we were able to before.
Okay. So, Mudassir, I want to know your opinion. How much value do you place on trust? Because this is going to involve a lot of trust, company trust on employees working from home. So working remotely definitely involves a certain level of trust. So what does company trust mean to you, and how much value do you attach to it personally and as an organization?
So I don't know if you've read our Careem OS handbook. It's basically, we call it Careem Operating System. It's called the Owner's Handbook. It's basically our employees' handbook. We don't even use the word employees. We use the word colleagues to sort of refer to each other. And from the very beginning, there is a very, very strong emphasis on us wanting to build a culture of ownership and trust. And we believe that that's the only way to build an organization. Because if you don't have that underlying fabric of trust, then you frankly need to create a lot of processes and systems to monitor people, to put checks and balances in place, to do all the things that slow you down, that all the things that bring bureaucracy into an organization. So if you can have an environment where everyone can be trusted, then you basically can actually run a lot faster and can run with a lot more speed than you can otherwise. So we fundamentally believe in trust. Now, how do you build an organization that has that underlying fabric of trust? And frankly, we are not perfect. We have our, it's work in progress. We have our own learnings all the time. But first, we need to hire the right people that can be trusted, that have the right value set, that are aligned with our values. We have defined our values to be being super ambitious, to be being of service, and to have ownership. So you need to hire people that have the right set of values. You need to make sure that they're living those values, and the values are being lived by leaders and everyone in the organization. And then you need to have very, very strong consequences. There will be times where people violate the trust, and you cannot tolerate that violation of trust, because if you tolerate it once, then this starts happening and this becomes a habit. So you need to make sure the consequence management of that violation is super, super strong. So if you can get some of these things right, then you have a culture of trust where everyone can be trusted to do what's right, run broadly in the same direction, and you actually make the place a lot more fun and run a lot faster towards what needs to be done.
How would you then measure productivity? I mean, there will have to be some criteria for measuring productivity, right?
Yeah, it's a $1 trillion question, I guess. Yeah, look, there's no, we haven't found the magic sauce on measuring productivity. We currently do self-reported. So we ask people how productive they are, and we ask their managers how productive people are. So every month we get a reading, and frankly, on those metrics, productivity has been inching up as a result of remote first. And as I said, initially people were in setups that were not perfect for remote first, but as time is going by, those adjustments are happening. And as those adjustments are happening, as we are all getting used to remote first, as we are designing our processes and systems to make remote first work, productivity levels are going up quite steadily, and every month we see an improvement.
Okay. Now, when you go remote first and you focus on work from home, how do you then ensure that the culture that you have built, the Careem culture, how will that continue to exist in the absence of permanent office spaces?
Yeah, it's not an easy thing to crack. And let me give you one thing I heard from our GM of Iraq just last week. And the way that he described it was very interesting. He basically said, look, we created the culture that we wanted in our offices. So our offices were painted a certain way. There were certain things that were written on the wall that we were seeing every 5 minutes. There was a certain way for people to interact with each other. And what basically happened was people came into the office, regardless of where they were living, where they were from. And for 12 to 14 hours a day, the office culture got imposed on them. And if you do that continuously for a couple of years, then that becomes who you are. So how do we achieve that in a world where people are not showing up to work? But so that was the way that we were building culture before, right? And that's the way that we learned how to build culture. But I don't know how long you've been working. I've been working for 22 years, and I consider myself a dinosaur. We've all learned how to do things a certain way in a certain setup, but the world has just changed, right? We have to come up with other different, potentially better ways of achieving the same things that were done in a previous era. So at a high level, we believe that all of us will have to get a lot more intentional about driving the kind of culture and values that we want. It's not going to happen as easily as it was happening before, but there's definitely a way to achieve it. And the one example that I often give people is, I was a consultant working at McKinsey. The consultants don't spend much time in the office. We would always be, out and traveling. 4 out of 5 days, we'd not even be in the same city. We'd be working at some client side. But if you look at some of these consulting companies like McKinsey, they have one of the strongest cultures that you can imagine. Like, if I meet someone who has been at McKinsey around the same time that I was, you connect with that person right away. You have the same value set. You have the same shared experiences. And if you look at how these companies did it, they did a few things that got the culture to exist, even in that environment and setup that they were working in. I'll tell you a few things that were happening. One is, again, 1 day a week, we were in the office. Every Thursday or Friday in some parts of the world, end of the week, we'd be in the office. And the day in the office was not just any other day, right? It was a day that was littered with events, littered with social gatherings. We'd often have dinner together, lunch together. So there was a lot of very intense bonding that was happening in that one day, driving a certain kind of behavior. Secondly, there were trainings every year or every other year. There were trainings that you had to go to. And these trainings, think of them like they were onboarding you into McKinsey every year. So the first time you get onboarded, and then the next year there's a training where a lot of you get together again, and you almost get re-onboarded, and then you get re-onboarded, then you get re-onboarded. And there are a few other things that were done that made sure that the culture existed very strongly, even in a world where people are not working at the office. So it's definitely possible. But we, being the dinosaurs, have to sort of unlearn some things and relearn things in this remote first world, and make sure that we can realize the true potential of leapfrogging the way that we work.
Okay, so there's a fear that when you work from home, or you have most of your employees working from home, that many of them will start to be overworked. Because there is no demarcation between office and home anymore. What is your stance on the always-on culture?
Yeah. This conference is about disrupting, and there are a lot of people from startups or invest in startups. So overworking is a theme, right? I personally believe that we at Careem are on a mission to uplift our region. And this mission will require all of us to really put our heart and soul into it. And if we do it for a couple of decades, then hopefully we will start seeing impact at scale. So yes, it may lead to some overwork, more than what was maybe happening before. But frankly, just like anything else, we will figure out ways to find the right balance. I've personally demarcated my day by meals, right? So, I have a meal. Now I can have a meal with the kids. My 5-year-old daughter was telling me the other day that, Papa, now I think I know you, because you would leave typically before we would wake up, and you would show up after we were asleep. We'd only see you on the weekends, and on the weekends you were also catching up. So, my day starts with a breakfast at 7 a.m. With my kids before they go to school. And at 6:30 is sort of, there's a demarcation of the day where, I have dinner with them before they go to sleep. And then I spend another couple of hours working before I go. So I feel that we'll all find the new normal where the balance will exist to some extent. But, I've never promised anyone that Careem is a place where you will not be overworked. We are on a mission. Join the mission if you are excited and thrilled to be making an impact in the lives of people in the region. And if that's not your calling, then this is not the right place for you.
Okay, but some surveys suggest that work from home is much harder on women than it is on men because of the fact that they have multiple responsibilities, and the minute they're available in the home, lots of people put demand on their time, and yet they're also working for whichever company, in this case, Careem. How would you handle that?
But my view on this whole topic is it's definitely a disruption that's just been unleashed. Right? The tools have been there for a while, and there are some companies that have been remote first from day one. If you look at companies like GitLab, it's a startup. It never had an office, and there are many other companies that were remote first from the beginning. But it's a new thing, right? And any new thing has teething issues. So there are some teething issues in remote first, and just like you develop a product and you have to find a product market fit. And a product market fit is not for like the entire country or for everyone, right? You find a product market fit segment by segment. So, there is going to be a product market fit for women as well. That'll happen in remote first, but it's not going to happen immediately. It's going to take some time. And what I would like to believe, that when in steady state, when things settle down, it's actually going to be phenomenally good for women empowerment in our societies because of multiple reasons, right? One, so many women are not able to even work because they have to be at the house at certain times, or they cannot find safe transport, or XYZ or ABC. I remember, I don't know the number in Pakistan, you may know the number in Pakistan, but at some point there was a Ministry of Labor study in Saudi that 3 million women in Saudi, which is 10% of Saudi's population, is not working because they don't have reliable means to get to work. There's probably another 3 million that is not working because of responsibilities at home. So look, this remote first, when it gets adopted at scale, will just sort of unlock all of that potential into the labor market. And yes, in the beginning, you're right, their existing responsibilities will overlap with their responsibilities of working, but they will start making a living. They will be a little bit more independent. They will have a little bit more say in the house over time. And just like we have seen in some other developed societies over time, the balance in the house will start shifting. But it's not going to happen on day one, or it's not going to happen in even 2 years. This is going to be a decade or so journey. But if you don't take that first step and are afraid of the teething issues, then we won't even see that happening, and we won't even see that coming to life. So I'm super, super excited about remote first in the context of our region, because there's so many women that can now come into work, and over time, it's going to lead to an incredibly more equal society, more diverse society in the workforce.
So this makes me wonder if this is part of Careem's expansion policy, because if you're wanting to engage more women and more people so that they can work from home, is it part of your expansion policy? Are you going to now hire more people, maybe go into different categories, just like you have now with the super app? Is that part of the strategy, or am I just imagining that?
Yeah, look, I think we need awesome talent to do the things that we want to do. The vision is not, we feel the vision is quite bold already. And now these are few things that are helping us realize that vision. But the vision is to, let's even go to the purpose, right? The purpose of Careem is to simplify the lives of people and build an awesome organization that inspires. And there are two parts to the purpose: simplify lives and build an awesome organization. So on simplifying lives, a lot of people look at Careem and they say, hey, you guys have become somewhat successful. They, for many things, they point to Careem. But if you look at the purpose of Careem, simplifying the lives of people, yeah, we may have simplified the lives of some people. 1% of the population in our cities is finding it a little bit easier to travel, order food, do a few things. But 99% of the population of a region is probably leading equally complex lives than they were 8 years ago when Careem was founded, right? So our purpose is largely unaccomplished. We still have a lot of things to do to simplify the lives of people. And then there is a second objective to build an awesome organization that inspires. And we believe that it is our responsibility that when we see an opportunity like remote first to disrupt the way that we work, we are one of the first adopters, and we sort of encourage others to adopt it as well, so that we can amplify the impact on our region. But the vision on the simplification of lives is, as you mentioned, the super app. We want to become a super app. We are already a super app in some ways, in some markets more so than others, where we allow third parties to develop services that will simplify the lives of people, build them on the Careem super app, and as a result of the simplification of lives, inshallah, we will be able to realize a lot more potential of our people that is currently getting lost in trying to order water, trying to get transportation, trying to get basic things that many people in the rest of the world take for granted. So inshallah, the vision is quite grand already, we feel. Now we need to figure out how will we make it happen, and remote first is a big part of it.
So do you think Pakistan offers some advantages over other markets in terms of your remote first strategy, or is it much like any other market that Careem is in?
So Pakistan, as a result of remote first, becomes a bigger part of Careem if you really take a step back and think of it, because it's a place that has awesome talent. We all know that it's a place with rich talent. And historically, there was some premium that was placed on proximity. So if, let's say, we were building a product, it felt a bit easier to hire people in Dubai, where most of us are living, and have the team be fully based in Dubai. But now, everyone is remote, right? Whether they're sitting in Dubai Marina or they're sitting in Gulshan Iqbal, frankly, they're just a Zoom call away. So as a result of remote first, Pakistan will become a much bigger part of the Careem journey from an enablement standpoint, and from an impact standpoint. Pakistan is one of our largest markets already. The super app is going to show up with more and more services in Pakistan. Already it's happening, but a lot more will happen over the next couple of years.
Okay, that's great. I think we are done with the amount of time I was allocated. So we will have to stop this conversation, but hopefully we can speak in person sometime soon. Thank you so much, Mudassir, for appearing on 021 Disrupt 2020 Wired. It's our first experience of doing this as an online event, and I think it's been a wonderful experience, and we've had a lot of traction, a lot more people participating. So I'm sure there are a lot of questions on Hopin. Maybe somebody from your team can answer some of those questions, if they can find the time, because I'm sure there must be lots of questions. We just don't have time to take them right now.
Jehan, thank you very much for inviting me, and even more thanks for all the incredible work that you're doing for the ecosystem. It's really proud to see this event bring so many incredible people from around the world to an event that really started in Karachi, which is hometown for me. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, Mudassir. See you soon.